Hello, everyone. Happy Thursday morning, May the 4th, Star Wars Day. How is everyone doing today? Thanks, Sterling, for putting in all the news. The ECB hike. They also upped the pace of QT. So that was interesting. They hiked 25 basis points and upped the pace of QT. The press conference is going on now. Good morning, Patrick. What else do we have? We had our unemployment numbers coming out, the weekly unemployment numbers coming out. I'm going to highlight something that did come in very hot. Good morning, Jacob. Good morning, Options 22. Good morning, Jake. Good morning, a bunch of viewers hiding in the background. Please say hi. Good morning, Tesla bouncing. I'm just watching for a rollover play. I already gave the levels. We'll look at it again. Let's just get through some of this stuff. So we had initial jobless claims expected 240, 245, coming in at 242, continuing, coming in a little better. The key number here, look at the unit labor costs. 6.3%, projected at 5 to 5.5, previous 3.3. Labor costs coming in very, very hot. The preliminary numbers. That, you know what? Inflation might not be going away. Might not. As talked about on the podcast, Future's Edge, might be ready for a bounce back up. So we will have to see. It's going to keep us on our toes. So that's it. About it for today, by the way. Really, that's it. So where do we sit? Tesla, again, is pointing out a little bouncing up 141 basis points. Apple down 145 basis points. So remember, Apple reports after the close. Banks are down again. PACW was down after hours. Bounced back a little this morning, but is still below recent lows, looking like they're going to be the next one. Remember, what happens on Friday after the closes? That's generally the bank failure time. So we'll have to see if PacWest, what happens tomorrow after the close with them. Energy leading, consumer cyclical, basic materials, financial, healthcare, and technology lagging. This morning, Fed Watch, I'm really just focused on now the probabilities, because with the pause, the next month pause, July pause, and then the series of cuts projected to start, fear and greed in agreed, but this will probably drop to neutral with the open. So we shall see with that. We're trading right now 40.99, so 4,100. Gamma flip 41.54, but there is a fair amount of put gamma that starts dissipating if we really rally above 4,100 and some call gamma kicks in. We are still in negative gamma, which amplifies up and down moves. But then again, you start rising above this 4,100, 41, that anything around that 41.50, 41.55 is a key target. Please do not ignore those levels. There was not much. I didn't even look at Moderna this morning. I didn't even look at Peloton either. I was too busy with the ECB looking at these numbers that were coming out. After the close, though, Apple. Can Apple beat and pop up? It's pulling back going into earnings. But a little pop in that could really shift the NASDAQ back and hold it up a little higher. Remember, we have non-farm payrolls tomorrow on Friday. So even though there's not a lot of earnings tomorrow, so we'll still have the Apple carryover effect going into Friday. We have non-farm payrolls. Who else is here? Good morning, Heinrich. Good afternoon, Charles. It should be an interesting finish with PacWest. Good morning, George. Oh boy. Yeah, I agree. But our whole system is just a disaster right now. Good morning, finding how do I say that? Furus? Finding Furus? Good day, Christoph. Morning, Anissa. Apple. Peloton big miss. Oh, well. When I do my ride later today, I'll be remembering Peloton. By the way, this is interesting. We had the gap down with the futures last night with the Pac West, all the drama with that starting to unfold. We ran up, filling the gap, and now rolled over. This came down exactly to it was 40.8625, and the low came down to 48.625, which hit that 75%. So we do have a little potential double, and I have it off the conservative targets, which would be a reversal back to this 41.50, 41.4975, and this key resistance shelf from the Fed press conference right there. So that's what I will be focusing on this morning. If we do get a close above 41.18, 41.18, even if we rotate back down, it would shift the targets. These targets would have to come down, but based off this little short-term stuff, 40.80 and 40.75.50, and then you have 40.68.75. Those are all the key levels should we roll over into the open that I will be looking at. All right, where does that look like? On the daily, we're holding, remember the 50 is an area. We've tested that. I actually expected to test it overnight. We tested it with the gap down. And you see here, even with that mini double bottom, essentially would take us back to neutral gamma if that were to trigger. To the downside, because overall, not just for today, but for the next potentially few weeks, I'm watching for some serious potential downward price action. The key areas is 40.68.75 on a closing basis. Why? That would trigger the double top in the S&P. And we could get back, that could take us back below 4,000. And easily a return to the 200, which is below 4,000. Also, the first target being 4,004. So, that is what I am watching for. So we have a little potential bullish setup, but a bigger bearish setup with weekly cycles heading down. Fake gurus. There are a lot of them on Twitter. A lot of people spout off a lot of things. You do have to be careful. You do have to be careful out there. So, remember, with Apple earnings, that will really drive the NASDAQ. I'm watching 13,000 as key. We start getting a close, especially today's, if we close below 13,000, then I am targeting not only the 87.5 harmonic, which is right in front of the 50. So I'm targeting about this 12,850 area to the downside. To the upside, let's see, we do have, do the targets work though? Technically, this could still be triggered on a 15-minute. It's still valid. Now, the second target just squeaks in. So it's the lower probability targets. I would really focus on this 13,227. And then it just so happens with a key resistance level comes in at the second target. But you can still utilize those targets because it's technically valid on the 15-minute. Although if we roll over the open, 13,050, we're still into a clear path move, and then there's a major support level at 13,000. Again, the 62.5, but also if you just look at price action, resistance, 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 support. That's where I will be watching for support should we roll over. And also remember, weekly still headed down on the NASDAQ. The Dow has confirmed the double top, but not triggered the double top. It would need a close below 33,347. Do we have a little mini double? I like this because we have patterns and we've gone so far. We do not have a little mini double yet. We'd have to trade down to 33,324. And then, but it's an extended flat area. I don't know if that will work with targets, but I'd really just use the breakdown level from the clear path. If it does start breaking, you don't even need a double. If it breaks above about 35,565, my targets would be 33,723 and 33,808. So 33,8. Those would be the two targets I would utilize. Okay? If you were a Dow trader, remember, just because I would utilize them doesn't mean you have to utilize them. Just trying to teach how the analysis process works for me. But watch overall that bigger double confirmed but not triggered double top on the Dow. We're trading. We held earlier to 1718 level where we had all the buying pressure before. As I talked about yesterday, we start breaking below this 1703 and then we're in the uh-oh zone. Why is that uh-oh zone? Well, because you have all this bottoms from December, the bottom area from March. We're retesting there. You start breaking, we can trigger a bunch of stops and easily make a quick run for the end of September to mid-October lows. Please keep that in mind. That is the uh-oh zone. VIX still watching for the potential double bottom trigger. Get that double bottom trigger, which would probably mean we've rolled over again substantially. And I've talked about insurance being cheap down here. It's now not as cheap, but it's still decently cheap if you needed to protect your portfolio via VIX. You could trade options or futures against the VIX. The DAXI finally looking, it might close below the rotation zone, but still holding key support. If we do break down, I am targeting the 15,600 to 15,650 area. The notes up against resistance, again, still caught in a range. Although, if we do get some more unraveling, especially with PAC West, we could see some continued upward pressure on the notes, which is lower yields, and we'd start playing out this massive weekly double. Remember, this is a weekly pattern. All right, dollar index. Still holding the recent lows. It's this is just caught in a range, not watching for anything specific in this range right now. This was technically a triple bottom. Crude, big spike down and reversal. So watching for this bottoming area to hold now. The bottom area to hold and then a bounce back to the daily rotation zone. Gold, the spike up. Remember, I put up the next harmonics. You can see them up there. 2084, hitting 2084 and then backing off. So we could be forming a more substantial topping area. I'm still watching for a topping area. And then we'd have a corrective pullback. And then, does that mean I'm really bearish on gold? No, I'm watching for a pullback correction still. And then we could make a serious run higher. What else? The yen, watching now for against this key support area, watching for a potential bounce back up. We'll have to see if this potentially forms a %B buy going into tomorrow. Euro, still holding a rotation zone with a triple top. Pound, we do have a double. That's the only thing I'm watching, although it's a fair way off from triggering. Bitcoin, still in consolidation. Tesla, we'll get to the spiders and the Qs in 1 second. Slight little gap up. The only thing I'm interested on a bullish case is above about 166.25, but then at the target would be the other side of the daily rotation zone, about 170, 171, well before the gap fill. We start breaking below about 159, though. We'll target the lows from the 27th. Now let's get to the spiders and the Qs. Remember, the spiders still have a double top in place. It would need a daily close. I should call it a potential double top because it hasn't been confirmed yet. A daily close below 4,378. Intraday 405.50 area is the first target I would use. Actually, the first target I would use is this gap open from the 26th of April, which is 406.72. Then I would utilize 405.50 area and then the full gap fill target 404.36 and then the key low from the 26th, because a close below that key low would trigger the double. To the upside, I'd be watching. This is not a double bottom because the targets would exceed that. However, if you start getting above about 412.50, you are into a clear path move and you have a gap left behind to 415.53, also the clear path move. I would not ignore this high. Why? Because it's also a breakdown zone. Let me move up this. So 413.75. Now we're trading 407. So initially I'd be looking at 407.98 for the gap fill. And that's pretty key resistance in that area. Then it does have a clear path move from yesterday afternoon sell-off at wrapping up the press conference. So key levels would be 409.95 and about 410.60. And on the Q front, right now 317.29 would be the first target to the upside, which is the gap fill. Then roughly about 318.20, and then right around 319.40. To the downside, there is no key target. However, on a breakdown, my target would be the gap up open from the 27th of April, which is 315.70. Then we have these key high and lows in here, right around the 62.5 of 315 area. Then to the downside, 313.44, and then 311.87. There. Good morning, Quasimodo. Peloton is the next BBBY. I think Peloton, if it got cheap enough, would get bought up still, especially for the subscriber base. Now, it has to get a lot lower in stock price. Ooh. Wow, big miss on earnings. Revenue better, so they got some more cost cutting to do. But would not be surprised over the next few days to see it retest these key lows from last October. Apple going into earnings, there is not a fantastic pattern. It's this stair-stepping pattern, which is generally the end of a move, but, you know, it's Apple. To the upside on a gap back up, major would be 171.63 and then 175.59. On a move lower, 159.75 is very key support. You start breaking below there, it's not good for Apple, and therefore not good for the market. What's up with AMD? Well, AMD was still from their earnings. I personally use VWAP. For intraday levels. I just don't highlight it on the channel. Good morning, Todd. Any chance NASDAQ will reach yesterday's highs? There could. I mean, that's the key level. Going into the open, I'd start watching on a break above about 13,100. yes, you are still long term. Remember, I just don't highlight this as trading around a core position. You know, it's trading in the key support area. So drops, and I've covered that. There's a video up there how to trade around the core position. This is a short-term buy zone. This is a short-term sell zone. Other than that, it's just a long-term holding. Why do I look to do something like this around a core position? Because you can harvest buys and sells to lower a cost basis and set yourself up for when it does eventually pop. Because remember, when we get done with the stupidity of the asinine green movement shutting down nuclear power, uranium will most likely pop again. Take a look at KRE if you can. This is where the SPY regional bank ETF, what do you see as being the key levels on this? Let's see. Let's take it from the COVID lows up to the insane highs. And we have 33.70 is the 87.5. And look where that lines up with prior price action. So 33.70. Then I would utilize 30 to 30.25, 30.50, 30 to 30.50 area, and then 27.26 would be the key levels. Any pop, now you have your resistance coming in right around 41. So any pop would be back into the daily rotation zone. You look at this, any pop even to the weekly rotation zone, I'd be watching for rollover sells. I would not be looking to buy this because you're trading against very key things. Yes, it can get pops up, but the pops will probably be very short-lived. I am recording Futures Edge this week, tomorrow afternoon. So that's where we sit. I will wrap this up going into the open. Let's just double check to see where we sit. Nothing's really changed. If you're looking for short-term open stuff, 4,100 is the resistance level going into the open, and still my key support is this 40.86 area. With that, I will wrap it up for now. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Everyone have a wonderful trading day, and we'll be back after the close. Bye for now.